The DA in Tshwane has accused ActionSA of not being honest about being unaware of a 0% salary increase for Tshwane employees. They say ActionSA councillors voted in favour of the budget. They've described ActionSA's stance in the matter as cheap political point scoring. And for more on this, we're now joined by Kwena Moloto. He is the DA Tshwane Caucus spokesperson, and he joins us via our video link. Kwena, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. Of course, it seems as if you are at loggerheads here with your coalition partner, ActionSA, and you are saying that their rhetoric of saying that they're unaware of this 0% increase is basically being disingenuous. Tell us why.
No, thank you so much for having me this evening. From the DA side, we're extremely disappointed in the sentiments that have been expressed by ActionSA that we do deem to be dishonest. As you stated, ActionSA councillors did vote for the budget. That included a 0% increase, but on top of that, they were also active participants in drafting this budget. While ActionSA is acting like a party that's in opposition, the reality is that they've got members that sit on the mayoral committee. Now, the mayoral committee is the structure that drafted the budget, that brought the budget to council, and ActionSA also had members that sat on the structure, the budget steering committee that met with National Treasury, and in every step along the way, it was made very clear that there'd be a 0% increase for workers inside the budget. And so for us, we really see this as a step back. This is a time where we need to be steadfast as a coalition, and ActionSA is very clearly inside this U-turn, attempting to score cheap political points in the run-up to the 2024 national and provincial government elections. But we really think that it will come at the detriment of residents, instead of being the voice of reason that they're attempting to portray themselves as. The reality is that they're creating instability and likely are going to give the criminal elements of SAMU that have been terrorizing the city for the past few months a belief that there's a chance now that there's cracks in the coalition, and we really see this as a step backward. And we still are fully committed to the coalition. Yeah. But ActionSA needs to stop acting like a opposition party and accept that they're a governing party that has made decisions, and they need to stick by those decisions.
And perhaps, Kwena, if you can just take a step back and just let us know and give us insight, how far along was this budget for the city of Tshwane actually even approved? And, did they express any dissatisfaction then when these engagements were taking place in council?
Yeah, no, look, the initial decision that there would be a 0% increase included inside the budget was communicated by members of the mayoral committee and the executive mayor to unions already as early as the first quarter of this year. From that point, it was knowledge within the context of council that there would be a 0% increase, and the reason that the city did this was so that it could be communicated by unions to their members so that they could be prepared. So from that point, it was clear to everyone that there'd be a 0% increase. Then, as I said, when the MMCs and the mayor sat together to draft the budget, the two ActionSA members that are members of that mayoral committee were well aware. They did not raise any objections. They didn't provide any solutions to deal with the 600 million rand that this would cost the city. As we've said many times, the city is currently dealing with a 3 billion rand budget deficit. We simply couldn't afford the 600 million. And even when this was engaged with at a CMC level and at a national level with ActionSA leaders, there was never an objection, and there was never any other solution given to the financial constraints that the city finds themselves in.
Yeah, and Kwena, the DA is in a coalition with ActionSA. You know, one would ask, I mean, you speak all the time as coalition partners. You know, did they raise this matter in your internal meetings you've had? Or like most South Africans, when we saw this motion being passed last week, was this your first time hearing about their stance when it comes to the 0% increase in council last week?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, we were caught completely off guard, not just as the DA, but as the entire coalition. We had a joint caucus meeting in the morning of that council meeting, an hour before it began. And ActionSA leaders that were present inside the meeting never made mention of this motion. It was only when we entered the council chambers that the speaker informed the executive mayor of a motion that had been submitted by ActionSA. So it was extremely underhanded and not acting in good faith in any way, shape or form. It was an attempt to try and play politics to get the unions on their side. But I think we've seen that it's completely backfired. Unions, the EFF, ANC have all come out condemning these cheap political stunts. And from our stance, as I said, we're still very committed to the coalition. We need to show that coalitions are possible going into 2024, where we're likely going to see coalitions across the country. But ActionSA needs to start acting in good faith. They need to start acting like a party that is in government. And I also think that another factor that has to be acknowledged is that a lot of these comments that have been made have been by their national chairperson, Michael Beaumont, by their provincial premier candidate, Funzi Ngobeni, and they're not councillors. And they shouldn't be interfering inside the functionings of councillors. They've got their public representatives that they've deployed. And I think that, for example, Michael Beaumont's comments to say that ActionSA councillors made a mistake it doesn't create faith inside the organization and therefore inside our coalition government.
And at the same time, Kwena, we keep on hearing from the city of Tshwane saying that it cannot pay workers their increase because it simply does not have money. But there are reports from your coalition partner ActionSA saying that, well, in fact, there is money to pay the workers. And, you know, you simply need to agree to pay these workers this amount of money. But at the same time, you have an issue here of your workers who have been dismissed. And at the same time, you are now also looking to filling those vacant positions. Why now? Why that route when we know that this matter is still before the courts?
No, look, the matter before the courts is the wage dispute. The 130 plus workers that have been fired is not something that we've taken to the Labour Court. The reality is that they were dismissed for breach of contract. As we've said, there's video evidence, for example, of workers actively destroying municipal infrastructure and vandalizing vehicles. Those workers have been dismissed, and we've been very clear that they will not be returning. And the reality is we have to deliver services to the residents of Tshwane, and so it's important that those vacancies get replaced as a matter of urgency, so that we can continue delivering services to the residents. In regards to ActionSA saying that there is money, again, they have not once come with an alternative funding model or proof that the city of Tshwane has funds. Their stance is that we should engage with the unions, and the executive mayors on many occasions engaged with the unions, and ActionSA is very aware of that. But we cannot engage the union and make it seem as if there's any scope for negotiation regarding a salary increase. It would be disingenuous, and it's something that we're unwilling to do, because the financial reality of the city is that we have a 3 billion rand underfunded budget, and we simply cannot afford a 600 million rand increase, and we refuse to play cheap politics and give workers hope. We have to work together as politicians and as municipal workers to rebuild the city, and honesty is a very key element of that, and we hope that going forward ActionSA is also able to find honesty in their modus operandi.
Kwena, thank you so much for your time here in SABC News.